Look at how high it's expected to go.
The snow on the four-state ground is going to stick around for the next several days, but at least we get some sunshine. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the president makes his pick for the next Supreme Court nominee.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine is sending gas prices higher, while the U.S. calls for even stronger sanctions against Russia and its president, Vladimir Putin. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Ukraine's capital city of Kyiv may soon fall to Russian forces, which are quickly advancing. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry is urging its citizens to take shelter and prepare Molotov cocktails and take up arms to defend their city. President Volodymyr Zelensky says the attacks are targeting civilian buildings and says his country is left alone to defend itself. President Biden held a virtual meeting with NATO leaders this morning, a day after announcing severe sanctions targeting Russian banks, oligarchs, and their families, as well as high-tech exports. Western allies have also imposed their own sanctions, but there is bipartisan support on Capitol Hill to go much further. Now, Russia's President Vladimir Putin spoke on Russian state television today, calling on Ukrainian soldiers to lay down their arms. He also described Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's government as a band of drug addicts and neo-Nazis. Well, gas prices have been on the rise over the past year, and now Russia's invasion of Ukraine is expected to fuel more increases. Danya Bacchus explains.
Oh man, it's ridiculous. They're just overwhelming.
Filling up the tank is a pricey proposition.
I do for living construction, and I spend probably about $500 a week of gas.
He lives in Los Angeles, where gas tops $5 at many stations, and at least one business was charging more than $6 a gallon. The national average is up 24 cents in just the past month, and prices are expected to go higher. That's because Russia is one of the world's top suppliers of oil, and the invasion into Ukraine sent oil prices soaring.
This conflict injects a lot of volatility into the oil market.
Andy Gross with AAA says that uncertainty could lead to more increases.
Because we don't know how Russia will react to our sanctions. Will they react by turning off the tap for oil flowing into the global markets? It's doubtful, but they could. And just that possibility has spooked the oil markets.
Experts say prices could stabilize if other oil-rich nations ramp up production.
We also have strategic stockpiles of oil that we can use in emergencies, and we are likely to tap those stockpiles to try to put more oil on this market and bring down prices.
Even if that happens, prices are still expected to climb as the summer driving season approaches.
We still need gas, I still need to drive, I still need to go to work.
And that's why most drivers will have no option but to pay those higher prices. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, tens of thousands of people are fleeing Ukraine as Russia's bombardment of the country continues for a second day. Traffic jams leaving major cities have forced many people to flee on foot, carrying only their children and a small number of possessions to neighboring Poland, Romania, and Hungary. Ukraine has restricted passage over its borders for men between the ages of 18 and 60 years old in case they are needed to fight. The UN's refugee agency says some 100,000 were already displaced inside Ukraine. Well, it feels like it's been a long, cold week. If it does to you.
Because it has.
It has. Hey, but you know what? There's finally light at the end of the tunnel. Michael Hayslip joining us. First look.
Tanya, how nice is it, number one, to see some sunshine, but number two, to be able to see it outside of Television City because our tower cam finally does not have a frozen lens.
It's nice. It is
So
nice.
here we are. It's been several days since we were able to look out to the east of the mothership right there. Flag blowing in with the wind coming in from the north. Did not set any record lows, if that makes you feel any better. We would have had to get down to zero at Joplin Regional Airport. We fell as low as 10 degrees this morning in between 6:30 and 7:30. And then at Martin Johnson Airport, we had to get down to 2 degrees to tie a record, if you will. We did get down to 9, once again, that same time frame. 6:30 to 7:30 was really our coldest time of the morning. Now, as we sit here at the noon hour, our temperatures working their way up into the low 20s. We see some high 20s sporadically down to the south. whether it be Miami, Grove, or in Anderson. We've got Parsons at 23 right there. And Pittsburgh here in just the last couple of minutes able to make it above 19 and into the 20-degree area. But remember, because that flag has the wind blowing in from the north, the wind chills just stuck in the teens, and they really will be all afternoon long. Now, with that being said, Tanya wanted to bring up this light at the end of the tunnel. Well, let's start with the fact that there's no precipitation on the Skywatch storm tracker. We don't have to worry about any freezing rain, any sleet, any snow. Everything now has pushed off squarely to the east coast. And they're kind of lucking out here, especially for the southeastern and mid-Atlantic portion, as a whole lot of that rain just dispersed before it actually got to the Atlantic. They're not so lucky up here in the northeast and New England portions of the contiguous 48, where the snow will continue to fall all the way into the weekend. Now, speaking of our weekend, we'll finish off the work week with temps in the high 20s, low 30s, so not a whole lot of movement for this afternoon. But by the time we get into tomorrow, we'll be talking about the 40s on Saturday and then the 50s on Sunday. Coming up here in just a little bit, Tanya, we'll talk about our possible snow melt, when we're going to see the best opportunity for our roads to get a little bit better. And yeah, even though there's nothing coming out of the sky, let's go ahead and check on those roads, because not everything is safe and sound as of yet.
All right, sounds like we got a lot to talk about. Thanks, Michael. Well, Missouri lawmakers pass a stopgap budget plan that seeks to strip public funding from Planned Parenthood, while instead paying for Medicaid expansion and pumping money into schools. The budget plan directs $1.7 billion in federal funding to schools before the end of the state fiscal year in June. Republicans also added a provision aimed at blocking public funding for Planned Parenthood centers, including clinics that do not provide abortions. Republicans in the Kansas legislature moved to block local bans, restrictions, or taxes on plastic bags and other packaging. The state Senate voted for the bill that would strip cities and counties of their power to regulate or tax bags, cups, bottles, or their packaging. The measure would cover not only plastic, but cloth, paper, cardboard, aluminum, glass, or foamed plastic such as styrofoam. The bill goes next to the House. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, a presidential pick.
Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is President Biden's Supreme Court pick, the first black woman ever nominated. I'm Skyler Henry at the White House with more on this historic selection.
And later, we're making Italian beef roll-ups in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Biden selects federal appeals court judge Ketanji Brown Jackson as his nominee for the Supreme Court. She is the first black woman ever nominated to the nation's highest court. Skyler Henry has more on this historic nomination from the White House.
Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson had long been considered the frontrunner ever since President Biden made a campaign promise to nominate a black woman to the nation's highest court.
It's long overdue in my view. I made that commitment during the campaign for president, and I will keep that commitment.
The 51-year-old appeals court judge is a Harvard Law School graduate who was a law clerk for Justice Stephen Breyer, the man she will now replace if confirmed.
She brings experience having been a district court judge and now a court of appeals judge for a brief time. And that is incredibly meaningful given the huge volume of cases where that sort of experience is really key.
Judge Jackson's experience as a former public defender would also be a first for the Supreme Court. It's experience that both she and President Biden have in common in their lengthy law careers.
We've seen a lot of folks who served as public defenders and civil rights lawyers be elevated under this administration because there have been far too few of folks with that sort of experience.
Judge Jackson is familiar with the confirmation process, having gone through it last year when she was nominated to the district court. This time around, the stakes are higher, with the reward of attaining a seat on the Supreme Court. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
A new CBS poll shows 29% of Americans are enthusiastic about the president nominating a black woman to the Supreme Court. Another 35% say they are satisfied. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
If I were to ask you what your favorite cuisine is, what would it be? I'll give you a moment to think about it, and then let's meet right back here and I'll share mine.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
So now that we've overcome the freezing rain, the sleet and the snow and everything else that Mother Nature threw at us Oh, in the middle of the week, it's time for the cold front to begin to recede so we can finally begin to melt this off. However, it's going to take a day and a half or so because even through the central portion of Arkansas right now, extremely cold for this time of year. As a matter of fact, let's jaunt on down to northwest Arkansas because this is a welcome sight. Past couple of days where we've taken this live traffic shot from the Department of Transportation. We've hardly ever seen a car on the road just because it was way too treacherous. Now, not only are we seeing a lot more traffic, but also too beginning to see it get back to about its normal speeds. But at the same point in time, even overnight, especially when the sun goes down, we want everybody to stay on their toes, defensive driving mode, because we're not, like I said, we're not going to have a chance really to have this completely melt until we probably get to Sunday. Here's where we stand well below the freezing mark, nobody even yet to hit the 30-degree mark. And then we've got that north wind still blowing in, so we'll be stuck here about 17, 18 degrees wind chill wise. Probably top out around 21, 22 is as warm as you'll see. It has been a roller coaster ride. Doug, Nick, and I were talking about this the other day. It has been something else during the month of February because we'll get a couple days of abnormally warm temperatures and then we just bottom out. Climb back up on the roller coaster. Remember this, 67, 73, 68. Why does that seem like it was about 2 weeks ago? Actually, it was about 3-4 days ago. Boom, then we bottom out once again. And of course, what does that do? Brings it to a February average high of 49 degrees. It's been something else this month. Skywatch storm tracker with some cloud cover that grew in from the south-southwest, but unlike the past 2 days, we didn't have to worry about any precipitation coming out of central Oklahoma and kind of ruining our day. Back to our travel maps. This is the Missouri Department of Transportation, and I want to point out that 44 that you see up here from Joplin into Springfield, everything's looking very clear. But then as we kind of zoom in right here, you'll notice the light blue streaks taking its way down through Newton County into McDonald County. So that's going to indicate that roads are still partially covered down there. Now, speaking of I-44, this is a great sign right here. We love the fact that it's mainly clear through Oklahoma, but of note, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol still considering it moderate, not completely clear. And that's because they've got a number of vehicles that are out and about on the road, still trying to clean things up. And we've got other highways like 58 and 69 that they consider moderate. And so it's one of those things where they're just stressing caution, but certainly much better than what we had the other day. And really in Kansas, your major thoroughfares like 69 and 400 are looking very, very good right now. Do want to point out that the side roads, the county roads, the country roads, things of that nature, especially when you get a tree-lined road, those are still extremely, extremely slippery. Watch your bridges and overpasses as well. Never forget that, please. Now the system has made its way up to the northeastern portion of the United States. Kind of took off, hung out in the Great Lakes a little bit, and this is going to be a mess for them all the way through the weekend. As far as the southeastern portion of the United States and the mid-Atlantic, this kind of just rolled over everybody, developed into some rain after it hit the ocean right there, but really didn't amount to much. That's part of that system that started in northeast Texas yesterday and then made its way up through Memphis, portions of the Boot Heel, and Nashville before it split off to the east. That's kind of the remnants of the large one that we had that came out of Oklahoma City up through Tulsa and then ran through us. Afternoon planner with the sunny skies, north wind just 5 to 10 miles per hour. That's not too bad. And then as we turn overnight, not quite done with the cold as of yet because we'll still run into some single-digit wind chills for late Friday night into Saturday morning. But here is the great thing. Eventually, we begin to see the color contour of the cold front recede back up into the upper plains by the time we get into Saturday afternoon. And we continue to warm up there for Sunday as well. So we'll go 40s on Saturday, 50s on Sunday, and the last day of February actually going to end up around 60 degrees. That would be Monday. And then as we turn the calendar, Tanya, how about this? Roll mid-50s and 60s for our first full week of March.
I'm not going to complain about that one bit.
March can't get here fast enough.
And we're actually going to have a Wednesday, Thursday where we don't have the snow and ice.
I know. It feels odd not to look at that 7-day forecast and go, where is that massive cold front that always comes in the middle of the week?
Yeah. Hello, March. We'll take it.
Well, yes, we will.
All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Nick Sievert in the U.S. Army. Soldier hails from Walnut, Kansas. To Nick Sievert, we thank you, our four-state hero. Love Italian food? Today, Howard shows us what could be your new favorite dish in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
If you were to ask me what my favorite type of food is, Italian would certainly be on the top of my list. I mean, how can you go wrong with foods like pasta, hearty casseroles, and pizza? My neighbor recently introduced me to one new favorite called Brujol. It's so good, I'd like to share our version of it with you. It might even become your new Italian favorite. To make it, we start by placing thinly sliced top sirloin steak on a cutting board. Since we want this to be pretty thin, we gently pound it out with a meat mallet. Now for the filling, we combine some Italian breadcrumbs, Romano or Parmesan cheese, some chopped Genoa salami, a couple of eggs, and a bit of black pepper. This gets spread onto each steak and then we roll them up. After securing each one with a toothpick, we saute them in a soup pot in a bit of olive oil until they're evenly browned. Then we add some jarred sauce and let them simmer until they're tender. Brujol sounds like something you'd make at a fancy cooking school in Naples, but the truth is, it's super easy. To get our version of Brujol, which we call Italian beef roll-ups, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found an old world way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
I might have to try that, but I know somebody who won't. Now, you can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Now, here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
Live look here at I-44. There we go. Give you an idea, we got some backed up traffic right there. I want everybody to be safe. Now, 44 travel-wise, look at those conditions, a far cry from what we experienced past couple of days, so we'll take that. But once again, want everybody, if you're getting out of Joplin there for the weekend, slow down, that is for sure. Chilly throughout the course of our day, a little warm up Saturday, Sunday, not looking too bad, and then get ready for some 60s for next week.
Well, coming up tonight at 5, there are thousands of phone apps and at-home tests that you can use to keep track of your health. And tonight in Health Watch, we take a look at the benefits and risk of do-it-yourself health. Plus, we speak to a Joplin woman born in Ukraine who prays for peace as her home country is invaded by Russia. And MSSU history professors weigh in on the Ukraine attack and the events leading up to the attack. Join us for those stories and much more tonight on the KOAM News at 5.
I want to thank you all for joining us here on the KOAM News at Noon. Tanya and I will see you again Monday morning.
And the rest of the team will see you right back here at 5 o'clock.